All right, we're live and I'm back. On today's episode, I interview a student of natural law, esoteric, spiritual, and physical health. He's the owner of the FreeMelon Society on YouTube, and he's also a stuntman and an actor. Welcome to the winner circle,
Mm,
Eli Martyr.
mm. What's up? What's up? How you doing, guys? Thank you so much for letting me come on your platform here and chat with you. I always relish these opportunities to come and share ideas, bounce ideas off of like-minded individuals, people who are doing the right thing, living life to the fullest, or at least interested in unfolding the fullest that life has to offer. When people are interested in that developmental pathway, it always commands my respect. So yeah, I met you. We met a little while ago on set while we were at work, and so started chatting. And yeah, figured that, or you figured that this would be a good opportunity to come and just share some of the stuff that we're chatting about. So yeah, I'm happy to be here and really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much, Derek.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we met on set and we had the opportunity to have like a lot of cool conversations about martial arts, you being a fruitarian, about physical performance, movement,
Yeah.
astral travel, nutrition, all these kinds of good stuff. So I'm excited to
Mm,
kind of chat about that throughout our conversation. But the goal of all these conversations is to really examine the guest's hero's journey, and we go on many through our lives. And I feel that when you hear someone's hero's journey, you see how we are all the same. We have so much in common, and it's really like the goal of these conversations is to uplift, inspire, and empower all those tuning in just to move forward with greater faith and belief in themselves on their journeys, on their path now. So these conversations are generally pretty positive, very like light. And this first question sets us up as such. And so, Eli, what do you love about your personal world right now? Not like about the world, the external world, but what do you love
mm,
about your very world, the
yeah,
life you
yeah,
live?
yeah. What do I love about the life I live right now? The life I live right now, if I had to give one redeeming quality for the life I live right now, it's that I have at least the comfort, right, and the stress-free environment to be able to pursue um, knowledge of myself, the world around me, for my own betterment, my spiritual unfoldment, my spiritual development. So having a life that is relatively free from extreme stress, extreme worry, so that I have the calm mindset to be able to pursue the higher developments. And in so doing, I'm able to become a more effective, more useful human being to the process of evolution.
Mm.
Spiritual evolution, right? Conscious evolution for myself and for everybody who I'm able to reach. So that's what I can really be thankful for, and what I do give gratitude for when I'm just lying down in my bed, um, comfortable, staring up at the ceiling or eyes closed, and just remembering, being mindful of the fact that you're lying down on a bed in comfort right now with the ability to ruminate on higher matters of importance, to ruminate on how you can help people the next day, ruminate on all sorts of things that really are only available to someone if they don't have a certain degree of primal stresses and worries in the life. And so I'm very, very thankful that I don't have those, and I'm able to be of service to people
Mhm.
with taking control of my development, right?
Yeah, a few questions
Mm.
from that. Well, first, what I'm sure people are wondering is just so how did you free yourself of stress and extreme worry? How did you get to like what how did you get to that spot where you could stay that?
It is a combination of things. I- like a lot of elements of development and development, they're multifaceted. there are many different levels and many different variables that go into um, giving you a foundation to make progress in the sense of like mental calm, emotional equanimity, that kind of thing. So there's lots of different factors. I mean, I could start with the diet. I know you mentioned already in the little introduction that I eat a very simple, the most brutally simple diet you could possibly conceive of. I eat pretty much fruit. That's the majority of what I eat, but I also will eat leafy green vegetables, nuts and seeds rarely. So it's a raw food diet, yes, but the way I structure there are many raw foodists out there, thousands of raw foodists. It's just that the way I structure it is extremely simple. It's extremely simple. I've eliminated all the complexity, all the guesswork, all the intricate preparations, food preparations, trying to make things lavish. I've eliminated all this, and I mean, if I had to credit myself with something in terms of diet, I eat very blissfully with no complications whatsoever. And in living like that, so to answer your question, this is one element that has gone to creating a very, I think, stable and calm demeanor with me is the diet, of course, right? Of course, your diet's going to be influential in your mental and emotional functioning. And so having this simplicity of diet, it expresses itself in a simplistic calm of demeanor as well. So the two go kind of hand in hand, right?
Mhm.
You're less irritable because you don't have irritants in the diet, right? It's an interesting thing that goes hand in hand. There are no excitants. I don't use artificial supplements of any kind. I don't consume anything that's not food, right? That's not a meal. Um, so there's very little in the sense of kind of unnatural stimulants coming into my system, at least through my diet that I'm aware of. So there's that element. The other element, of course, is over the years, I consider myself an independent researcher, and over the years, you constantly plug away at literature, spiritual development, occult science, esoteric science, mystery school traditions, uh, mystery school development, all this kind of stuff. And in perusing all this literature, you start to pick up some elements of what spiritually endowed individuals and teachers have been doing throughout the ages, and what they've been teaching their students as ways to cultivate a good mind, right? A good spiritual essence. And so you pick up certain things and you try to implement them in your life, certain tenets, little tidbits here or there. And so just trying to be a good student and implement what I can that I could immediately recognize would be beneficial in life, right?
Mhm. Out of those tenants, what are some that you'd recommend everyone to partake in?
One of the ones that I like to give as a good example, and I think there was an interview I did just recently where I used the same example. I'll use it again because it bears repeating. And it anytime you free yourself of a dependency on something, anything, it doesn't matter what it is. So anytime and every time you free yourself from a dependency or an attachment of some sort, the result is an increase in power, in personal power, right? And you would imagine if the more dependencies you get rid of, like if you were to get rid of 100% of the dependencies that you have in your life, the end result would be like godhood, right? That's what a god would be. A god is someone or something that has so much power it doesn't need anything from anything. It's just I need nothing. Like it's I can I'm completely, completely insulated against everything. There's nothing that bothers me. You know what I mean? Now we won't really get there in the flesh right now in this incarnation. I'm not saying that. But in striving to recognize the things in your life that are simply attachments that are making you that are weighing you down, that are making you dependent in such a way that they impair the freedom that you experience in life, right? In recognizing these, the more of these that you can recognize and work towards eliminating as attachments or dependencies, you gain a blissful freedom, a little bit more freedom and power every single time you do that.
Mhm.
Um, I just talked about food, for example. Okay. So for me, right, food preparation, right? Like food preparation takes a long time, right? You can take it easily kill an hour in the kitchen or more preparing food, cooking food, prepare. Maybe one night you want a more intricate sauce. It's like another 30 minutes prepare. Food preparation takes a lot of time. So once I eliminated food preparation and complexity from this, from the picture, immediately there's a degree of time and freedom and bliss in the life just by eliminating the necessity for any kind of intricate food preparation. I've been very, very, in fact, optimally fulfilled and satisfied by just one element. Like, a cantaloupe is either dinner or breakfast or lunch or whatever, right? And it's equally fulfilling and wonderful, and that's it, right? So I've eliminated a need for something, and in that elimination of the need, you liberate yourself. You're free. You can be out in public. There's no food anywhere, and it doesn't matter, right? You don't need to eat. You can wait till either the next day or later on that day when you go home and you just have some oranges or whatever. So liberating myself from food culture. I should have put it that way. Liberating myself from food culture is, I mean, I wish I could convey to you in feeling how liberating and like empowering it is just to not need any of it. It's a power. And it feels like that. And so that's one example, right?
Yeah, and you've been
Right.
doing this for a while, right? Like, how many years have you been eating this way? Where it's just like, because I remember when we shared a meal together, you're just eating oranges and you just eat
Mm,
one thing.
yeah.
How long have you been eating this way?
For not close to, not quite there yet, but close to 9 years.
Yeah,
Close to 9 years so far. Yeah. Now I
and
should say,
prior,
oh, sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Okay, I'll finish off. I should say now, most of the time, that is how I eat, how you just described, just like one particular thing at a time. Most all the time, that is how I'm eating. But I will say, I am also human. Okay, I wasn't born in the lotus position on a mountaintop or something like that. I'm just a regular dude. Okay, I'm human. I don't eat like that. It hasn't been all the time. Yes, sometimes I might have, okay, I'll have some bananas and some grapes or something. I might make like a simple combination of meals. If there's a day where where I want to eat vegetables, for example, might have a simple salad. Uh, Celery, tomatoes, some lettuce, right? Very simple combinations. So it's not that I have eaten like that. every single day without compromise for 9 years. No, that's not the case. No, there's flexibility, obviously. I'm human just like everybody else. So, yeah, just wanted to add that so people don't get the wrong idea in thinking, oh, this guy, is just zen eating one orange a day or something. No, 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 it's not that. Yeah, it's not that.
And I have another question about diet that you kind of talk about on your YouTube channel. So you have a YouTube channel, the FreeMelon Society, which we'll get into. But the one thing that you mentioned in a recent video is you talked about fats. So can you talk about where the role of fats play into your diet?
Oh yeah, yeah. So with fats are when in nutrition culture you hear people talk about the importance of fats, they're not misleading you. They're not lying. What we hear about the importance and the role of fats is generally correct. Okay. What is a bit more omitted from the picture though is how easily you can obtain the fats that your body actually needs with the simplest of food material. You don't need to go and source out all of the variegated, concentrated fats that food culture says you need in order to get what your body needs. Your body needs a fraction of the amount of fats that typical nutrition culture posits that you do need. The other element to that is that you can't avoid, it's very difficult to avoid if you're eating anything. It doesn't matter what your diet is. Okay, it doesn't matter what your diet is. It can be any variety of diet. It would be very difficult to not get a full complement of nutrients, a nutritional spectrum that your body needs for the day. It'd be hard to do that if you're not starving by the end of the week, the end of the day, the end of 3 days. If you're not actively starving and just getting enough, and you're satisfied and you're happy, you're getting enough. You're getting enough of a full complement of stuff if you're eating whole foods. All right. I should have added that little caveat. Sorry, excuse me. If you are eating a whole food diet, all right. So not chips, donuts, breakfast cereals. Okay, I'm excluding these from the picture for now. All right. So pardon me. I made that assumption. I'm talking about whole foods only. All right. When I talk about these things regarding diet. So let me reframe. If you are eating a diet that is composed of the vast majority of whole foods, sure, okay, whatever. Someone adds a little bit of maple syrup on, whatever. The vast majority of your diet is made up of whole foods. Potatoes, cauliflower, beans, quinoa, rice, whatever, bananas, apple, whatever, right? Whole foods, okay? Flax seeds. If your diet is anywhere in that spectrum and you're satisfied by the end of the week or the end of each day, you're nutritionally taken care of, right? It's very difficult not to run into a situation where you're not getting enough fat, because fat is in everything. It's in apples, it's in lettuce, it's in bananas, it's in the stuff that you wouldn't imagine has any fat, that the nutrition world never cites as a source of fat. All of that stuff has fat. So you go into Google, say best sources of omega-3s, all right? That list that Google's gonna spit you out for page after page after page after page, just constantly regurgitate the same information. All those foods, okay, everything else that's not on that list, that also has the amount of fat that you would need in a day. All right. So yeah, it's a twofold thing. It's not that fat is bad for you or anything. I will never suggest that fat's bad for you. It's just that the quantities that they tell you need are not needed. In fact, are too much for the body. I don't want to say no. I don't want to say too much. It depends on it depends on the person, but it's typically not more than more than your body really. Yeah, no, maybe I am happy with that. More than your body needs. Okay, more than your body needs. And the other element is that proteins, fats, carbohydrates, they're in everything, just in various quantities, various
Yeah.
proportions. And it's those proportions. So let's just say an apple has tons of carbohydrate, some fat, some protein, right? We're told that that is low fat, low protein. What is never being asked, the perspective that is never being added to that phenomenon of apples having high carbohydrate, low protein, low fat, the question that's never asked is, what if nature intended exactly that proportion for a very specific and intelligent reason, right? Maybe that ratio, that balance of high carbohydrates, low fat, low protein is exactly what is a balanced nutritional profile in the apple, because nature has deemed that that is what is correct for the organisms that eat that type of food, right? So it
Mhm.
wouldn't be that you are eating a low fat diet. You would be eating a perfectly correct diet for your species if you're the type of species that eats primarily fruit and vegetables and whatever it is.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No,
so that's it. That's I think that's all I want to say about that. I'll let you chime in.
yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. You've studied a lot about nutrition, not only through textbooks, but just self-implementation and trying it on yourself.
Mm,
This kind of has to do with nutrition a little bit, or just consumption. And that is alcohol. It's summer right now. A lot of people drinking beers,
yeah,
drinks on patios, and it's the system kind of promotes like alcohol. Like you see sports games and they're
yeah,
promoting beer and like it's crazy because from what I've learned and heard and felt, like alcohol is not good for you at all. It's a
yeah,
poison. What is your findings on this about
yeah,
alcohol?
yeah. You're barking up the correct tree. It's one of the I did a lecture on this kind of thing a while ago, a long time ago, on just moderation and nut no, I shouldn't say not all of nutritional world, all right? Not all the individuals and bodies and institutions, they don't all subscribe to this. Uh, I think conventional food culture, though, conventional food culture, they definitely subscribe to the idea that if you have a moderate diet, just balanced in everything, that's the best way. It's like the middle path, right? Just take the middle. If this is amazing and this is awful, well, then the truth must be the middle. In many cases, that is in fact correct, but in certain contexts, no, that's not the correct approach, right? So, moderation, we have this thing about moderation whereby as long as it's only a little bit, it's fine. You're gonna, it's not harmful. What I would contend is that moderation does not apply. The concept of moderation does not apply to poisons. There's no such thing as a poison that is health promoting or beneficial in small quantities because it's poison, it's a toxin, right? I'd love for someone to show me the correct moderate use of mercury or arsenic, or there's no correct health promoting amounts of these things because they are not elements that are suitable for organic life to unfold, right? They are detrimental to organic chemistry, to living biology. So moderation does not apply to these things. There's no amount of moderation of um, forceful hammer shots to the kneecap, right? You would never moderate this. You would never moderate how much gasoline you take in a shot glass every time you go to the gas station to fill up your car, because gasoline is just an active poison. There's no moderation. Moderation only applies to vital stimuli. And but what I mean by vital stimuli is stimuli, external stimulants, right? I shouldn't use the word stimulants. I'll reserve that for some other discussion. But elements in your food that sustain and promote life. Okay. Sunlight, air, water, proper food. Okay. These are vital stimuli. And it is only those things that moderation applies to. So you can have a moderate dose of sunshine, and excess hurts you. A moderate dose is good, not enough is bad. Same thing with water, same thing with food, okay? Same thing with exercise, right? These are all life-promoting phenomena where moderation applies. Moderation does not apply for toxins. Now, with that out of the way, alcohol is an active toxin. It's a poison. It's an acid, okay? We're talking about acetic acid. Now, it's good to remember that all acids that are produced in your bodies are waste products that your body needs to eliminate once they're produced by some sort of biochemical process. Okay, so if there's a process that produces some acid as a byproduct, that byproduct, if your elimination system doesn't expediently get rid of that thing, you're looking at the cause of all disease, right? Is the accumulation of acidic waste products and byproducts that irritate tissue. And if the irritated tissue, excuse me, if the products that cause that irritation are not dealt with by your elimination system, then they will continue to cause damage and further irritation, and then more damage, and then hardening of linings, of delicate linings, and then cancers start to grow and pop up, and more acids. So it's contingent on you getting rid of all these acids in your body. Sulfuric acid, uric acid, carbonic acid, all sorts of acids, all right, you need to get rid of. Alcohol is another one of those acids that are both produced in the body, and you can also get them externally. It's a byproduct of fermentation, of bacterial fermentation. So when bacteria are just like you and I, they eat and they poop out waste, no different than any other animal. And that waste is not good to keep in your system, to have it lingering in your system. And so the byproducts of bacterial fermentation, these acids, your body fights tooth and nail to eliminate these as expediently and as quickly as possible. All right. Every single day, every single moment that you're living and breathing. So when you invite alcohol, which is the exact same byproduct that your body is trying to get rid of anyway, and you dump this massive load of alcohol down the tube, your body goes like this. It says, "Oh, what are you doing? I'm trying to get rid of this stuff to begin with. What are you going to give me all this? Oh my God. Okay, let's get the buffers. Let's get the digestive chemistry. Let's try and deal with this nonsense that our host just dumped on us." Right? This is what your body's doing if I'm speaking in its stead, right? So by drinking alcohol, you're inviting into your system a cellular poison that kills organic life. This is why when you have an alcohol swab, this is why it's standard in hospitals, or you can go to your pharmacy. And when you want to clean up a wound, you get medical swabs, or excuse me, alcohol swabs. Why? Because they are offensive to life. They annihilate bacteria. They just annihilate it. If you've ever seen a cell culture of living bacteria, where they introduce vinegar, which is just alcohol, introduce vinegar into the cell culture, it's crazy. It's like watching this, like, biblical deluge of poison just wash over this culture, and this thriving community just goes "Bleh," and it just dies, right?
Wow.
Instantly, just instantly, just this alcohol just kills all so quickly. It's very disturbing. And because that's what alcohol does. It's this vicious acid that kills living cells on contact. So when we put it into our systems willingly, it, I mean, it's counterproductive. I'll just say that. It's counterproductive to what every human being would want out of life, which is health, happiness, all that kind of stuff. We actively take away from that if we make a habit of indulging in alcohol.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and the thing is, you'll never encounter anybody who has had some sort of habit of alcohol, like just casual, not an alcohol addiction or anything, just casual use of alcohol. You'll never run into anybody who has decided that they don't want alcohol to be part of their life anymore at all, and reported that their life is now not as good on the other side of that decision. Nobody will ever say that to you, right?
Yeah.
Everybody will always be happier that they don't have alcohol in their life anymore, right? No one's saying, "Oh God, I wish I could go back to the days where I was drinking alcohol once every 2 weeks or a week." No one will say that, right?
Every day, some people.
Yeah, or every day. Yeah, or every day. Yeah.
Another thing this summer that is increasing, it's another toxin. It's like sunscreen and bug
Oh
spray.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So just
Yeah.
tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very similar story. It's a very similar story in that the more the more offenses that you load onto or into your body, the more you impair the vital force in its ability to flow through your body effortlessly and express health, right? So we have all sorts of ways in life that we have been taught to be comfortable with inviting toxic behaviors or toxic chemicals into our lives, right? Marketing is primarily responsible for this. So with bug spray, it's funny. It seems nature has designed life in such a way that all as much as we are all different, like all species, bugs and rats and lobsters and camels and emu, and they're all radically different from one another. But there's also this commonality that is just staggering when you really look at it, like skeletal structures amongst mammals. It's the same. But we've all got humeruses and ulnas and femurs and hip girdles and shoulder blades and collarbone. Like it's just like, oh my God, whales have it's just the same. So it's nature has used the same structure and generalized it to everybody. In terms of our nervous system, the nervous system like is remarkably similar. It works in almost the exact same way in all the animals out in nature. Very, 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 very similar. Okay, why I'm saying that, I'm mentioning that is if a bug spray, if it can hurt or harm or kill bugs, or it's very offensive to bugs, guess what? It's probably offensive or harmful to you too. It's just that it's not as noticeable because you as human beings, like we as human beings, have very, very, very complex systems and like evolved um, purifying systems in our body, just very like a very, very advanced type of machinery as a human being. You're also a much larger organism, so the equivalent amount of poison in your body is proportionally far less, but that same amount in the body of a flea would be like this overwhelming amount of poison, right? So just the
Yeah.
size of a human being might account for that. Okay. So, but the thing is, just because it doesn't actively kill you on the spot, it doesn't mean that it's not harmful for, to your body. So now that's one element. The other is industry chemicals, industry sludge, like radioactive materials, hormone disruptors. Industry needs to make these products shelf stable for years and years and years and years and years. No bacteria, no organisms that usually decompose organic matter, they don't go anywhere near this stuff, right? Nowhere near it, because it's just this, they know better than to go near this non-living, health destroying stuff. And so when we use it, when we put it on our skin, we absorb that material, these forever chemicals, all right, these chemicals that actually interfere with our biochemistry, right? It's like throwing rocks in a stream. It's just, so sometimes these chemicals, because they're so inorganic and so foreign, sometimes your body doesn't really know exactly what to do with them. It doesn't process them out very well, so it just stores them in some fat tissue somewhere in your body. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
So on
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I hear you. On your YouTube video, you kind of talked about the sunscreen,
Yeah,
and you mentioned like some ways to not use sunscreen is just to limit like your like because the sun is good for us in certain amounts of exposure. So just
yeah,
limit your time in the sun. Like
yeah,
other options are like to wear a hat or like
right.
long sleeve shirt or like an umbrella, like be in the shade.
Yeah.
Those are some alternatives for um sunscreen. What about for mosquitoes? Mosquito spray. Like, what's the natural remedies, or how to deal with that?
Ah, that's a yes, yes. Natural bug sprays. That's a good one. You know what? Offhand, I can't. There are a couple of things that you can use that are fairly good. If you're I mean, there's one we all know of, fire. All right. So if you're
Yeah,
camping and you have something that produces a bit of smoke, now the obvious problem with this is that breathing in smoke is not necessarily the best health sustaining practice that we could employ. However, if you're far away from enough from the fire, then the general vicinity will be, it would help to insulate you against the attack of mosquitoes, right?
yeah,
So for people that are camping, there's that. There are I actually just bought one. You can buy these like portable mosquito tents, right? Very, very portable mosquito tents. You just like throw them and they open up and pop up, and you can go into the middle of a forest and just jump inside this thing and have lunch, have a picnic or whatnot, and mosquitoes won't bother you. So
nice.
there's options like that, okay, if you want to go that route. But in terms of things that you could actually like spray on and coat your skin in, there have been some things that have been tried. Some people have tried like spraying lemon, like
Yeah,
spraying lemon mist on themselves. I don't think that works very well though. It might even have the opposite effect. It might even attract bugs. But yeah, so I don't think that works as well. Uh, you might be able to get away with some sort of, like, if you had onion oil, right? Or maybe a garlic oil of some sort. Again, these kind of things they're not, they probably wouldn't make for the best deodorants or whatnot. No one wants to smell like garlic. But the thing is, they're offensive because they have these pungent chemicals that are supposed to be offensive to
yeah,
organic life. So that's why they might be helpful in getting mosquitoes to go the other way. But and that's a whole other conversation, because we're told garlic and onion and whatnot are things that you should have all the time. And it, there's context there. There's context there. Yeah.
yeah. So thanks for sharing all this. These are some of the interesting things you talk about on your YouTube channel. So you
Mhm.
have a YouTube channel, the Free Melon Society. How
Yeah.
long have you been doing that, and what's your goal with that channel?
Yes. Yeah, that's good. I think the goal, all right, the goal is one of those things that is really a never-ending work. I think everybody that wants to do something to be of service, it's there's never an end goal, right? A goal of like an end goal that you're just actively working to where you get that goal and that's it. Uh, I'm I'm just trying to be of service with what I'm able to do, right? And having a YouTube channel where I can give back everything that I've accumulated over the years. See, because like I went through all my schooling, just like actively devouring, like reading, all stuff that was not relevant to what I was doing in school. Just an independent researcher, right? So just constantly plugging away at everything. It was one of those things where early on in life I realized that I was stupid and I didn't like it. And it felt bad when I thought about it. I'm like, I don't really know much about anything that's valuable. And I'm like, I don't want to be that person anymore. And so I started learning and yeah, it turned into a hobby. Thank God it turned into a hobby. So I'm consuming. You can only do that for so many years before this obligation from somewhere in the ether hits you where you have to give back. You don't have the right to just take and take and take and take and take and not give back, just like all the authors who you're learning from devoted their time and effort to teach you. Well, you have to do the same, right? And so at some point that obligation hit, and yeah, we have this amazing tool, the internet, all these resources available to us where uh, we can bring stuff, ideas, philosophy, and understandings to people at light speed. And so, yeah, just using using this platform, my YouTube channel, or whatever other platform, however it is that I'm able to do it. Yeah, just continuing to let that grow and grow so that we can try to get the natural health and diet and spiritual reform message across and help as many people as possible. And so I would say that's the overarching goal, but that really wouldn't have an end mark necessarily. So there's no goal that I'm looking to hit, right? And then I don't know, relax or whatnot. I think this is just something that's going to characterize life.
Being of service and having fun doing so,
Yeah,
getting to be creative,
yeah.
um, and sharing knowledge that you've accumulated on the path. You mentioned spiritual reform. What do you mean by that, and what does spirituality look like for you? How has that evolved?
So when I'm talking about spiritual reform, what I'm talking about is the unfolding of the best degrees of potential, right, in the human constitution, in the human for the human being. All right. So in unfolding um, the best qualities that characterize life, right? It requires certain attention to elements of yourself, your inner working, and of course the world around you. And deep in our antiquity, we had what we'd call the mystery schools, right? Where the type of instruction that was given to the initiates was an instruction in the deeper laws, the laws of nature, essentially, the hidden laws of operation that govern the workings of the mind, the workings of the body, and the workings of the, the cosmos, the universe. And it was through that type of instruction where people who were versed in the mysteries were able to get in touch with their true selves, with their higher selves, and use that to enhance the quality of their lives, to become more effective individuals, um, to to dominate really the strife and the friction and the turbulence that can sometimes characterize life. Well, higher understanding and esoteric philosophy would allow you to have tools, mental, emotional, physical tools, to be able to negotiate these things with complete bliss, right, and
Uh-huh.
grace. And so there are many reasons why you'd want to start cultivating some sort of spiritual development. But if I had to say it in a nutshell, it would be something like that, right?
Okay. So of those esoteric tools, like what
Mm.
are some of those that you've accumulated and learned on the path that just kind of the average person could begin exploring?
Yeah, there's there's lots of different approaches to this. One thing that one thing that I would say for sure, okay, a main issue, or a main issue that has not that has plagued humanity, not just in the last 10 years, not just in the last 20, not just in the last 50 or 100 or 500 years, something that's plagued humanity for a very, very, very long time, but much more profoundly since the Renaissance, the Enlightenment. So we're talking the 1400s to about the 1800s. Okay, in that time, there was a really, really concerted effort to remove from the human thought paradigm, remove from the human thought paradigm of a reverence for and an understanding of a harmonizing with God, right? With the assumption, the common assumption that there was some higher authority that was a higher intelligent authority that was guiding and steering life. All right. Or if not, let me reset. Let me reiterate that. Not reiterate, but rephrase. Not guiding, not necessarily guiding, but there was some sort of higher authority that was at the helm in creating life, and that who had designed life to unfold in the way it does. Um, we've been taught to be a very godless society, and we've swung in the opposite direction, where way in our past, reverence for nature and God, all right, was of prime importance. And now we've swung in the opposite direction, where everything is antithetical to God. Human beings are exalted as the be all and end all of all value. Human beings are the authority. All right. What we control nature. We are just the architects of our own, of our own lives. There's no higher authority other than human thought and reason. This 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 mindset, if I had to give one constructive bit of advice, this mindset is rat poison for spiritual development. Okay, because it's not true. It's like it would be like if a bank, right? If a bank were to loan you $10 billion, right? Graciously, not a loan as in you have to repay this. If, let's just say, some bank out there were just to gift you $10 billion because it loved you and it believed in you. And it said, I want you to be successful. I want you to take this gift and go and do my will with it. Okay. Do the bank's will. Um, make people happy, erect institutions, do what you like with this. Here's this money, take care of yourself and have fun. Let's just say, all right. Now imagine you take that money and then a year later, when the bank comes to check up on you and just says, hey, how you doing? Um, you spit in its face. You say, yeah, screw you. I don't need you. What are you checking up on me for? I'm a big man. I don't need you checking up on me. Get out of here, right? And you disregard it and you besmirch the bank. You have contempt for it for whatever reason. It's kind of like that, where the gifts that you are given by virtue of being living in a body with all of these wonderful faculties that your body gives you, this intelligent system, this vehicle that has been gifted to you. When we lose reverence for this higher intelligent authority that has given you literally the keys to the kingdom, has literally given you this splendor that you call a human body, a human mind, an emotion, an emotional faculty, all of these things. These are all gifts from nature, from God. And when we lose respect and reverence for those things and an awe, like a wonderful awe at just the intelligence and the beauty and the mathematical harmony of nature, when we lose that respect and reverence, we kill spiritual development. So to circle around to your question, one of the preliminary key tenets of reclaiming spiritual refinement is to recapture your awe, respect, and reverence for nature, for God, and for the life essence, the awe and wonder of the natural world around you, right? A simple dandelion plant should captivate your respect and awe for the intelligence that was required in going into it. When you eat something, right? When you eat anything, you should pause every once in a while in just awe and wonder and gratitude for this incredible vehicle that you have that is transforming, like alchemical transformation, all right, of this element into a form of energy that no scientist, chemist, lab technician will ever be able to reproduce in anything that we design. Never. Not going to happen, right? But nature and God has done this for you, and it should baffle your mind, right? So
Yeah.
so recapturing that respect for something that really, really does deserve your respect, and we don't respect it. Like you said earlier, what do we do? This incredible body that heals itself, and all you need to do is go to bed. You can feel rotten. You can break your leg. You can slice your face with a knife. You can just abuse your body. And all you need to do, Mother Nature was so benevolent, so loving, that she said, you can abuse me 24/7, and all you need to do to come back into my good graces is just go to sleep. Just sleep. And I will do the rest. I will repair you. I will take care of you. I will rock you like a babe in a cradle and heal your wounds and bring you, so long as you just allow me to do that. And you do your part by just going to sleep. That's all you have to do. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't need to know any science. You don't need to know any biochemistry. Don't need to go any schools. You just need to go to sleep. Now imagine some creator that was so beneficial that they designed life in such a way that that's all you had to do. And not only is that all you had to do, but it feels good,
uh,
right? So it's just awe and respect. Like respect for the things that really do command your respect, that would be step one in spiritual development, I would say.
Uh, and another step would be to remember God. And from what you've learned, like, what do you mean by God? Like different religions,
Mm,
Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism,
yeah,
they're all pointing at a different God, but maybe it's the same thing. What have you
yeah,
learned about this?
yeah, yeah. You got it. You got it. It's different different cultural flavorings for the same meal, if that makes any makes sense, right? It's the same essence because there can only be there can only be one essence out there, right? Whether you go to India or or China or Madagascar or the Congo or Bulgaria or Transylvania or wherever you go, it doesn't matter, right? The elements that create life are exactly the same. Exactly the same. People in India are going to be creating new human beings in the same way that they're going to be creating new human beings anywhere else. This process of creation, this intelligent design, it is characterized in all of life. Okay.
Yeah.
There is no distinction at the highest level, right? For that one entity or that one essence, I should say, that essence of life that has expressed its glory in hundreds and thousands of varieties of things. And all of these things are expressions of that one glory. But in terms of gods and gods and goddesses and literature and whatnot, they're all just describing the same thing. Now, I'll very quickly, I will say that when we go, let's take Greek mythology, for example. So when we have this whole pantheon of gods in Greek mythology, um, it's we look back on that today with our modern understanding, and we say, oh, look at all these silly people who had these weird pagan beliefs and they just believed in all these gods, and so they must have been backwards. They're less advanced than we are. No, this isn't really what it was. What is happening there is they've recognized that when nature, God, when I say these things, they're the same thing. I don't make any distinction between nature, God, deity, right? It's all just expressions of the exact same creative, intelligent force, all right, that is expressing itself through the grandeur of life.
Uh,
Okay. So back to Greek mythology now. What they noticed, what they recognized is that when deity, when God, when this intelligence um, wants to physicalize itself, it physicalizes itself by distributing into a bunch of different varieties. It breaks itself apart and creates thousands or hundreds of different units of itself in the physical world. If you wanted a very easy analogy for this, think of how a prism scatters the one pure beam of white light. So you shoot some pure white light at a prism, and what happens? Pew, the prism just expands and diffuses that one entity, that union of all things, and it diffuses it into this spectrum of colors. Okay, the ancient esoteric philosophers recognized that when God or nature or creates life, it does so, and its laws are also and attributes are also scattered and spread out, and so there are many different expressions of individual attributes of godness, goodness, similar thing. And so what they did was they just personified the attributes of God or of nature. So the act or the laws of nature. Maybe I'll say it that way. They personified the laws of nature and the tendencies or characteristics of nature as individuals that looked like people, and we called them gods. And so in revering those, they weren't really revering, at least the enlightened class, they weren't really revering the actual God itself or goddess itself. They had the understand, they were very well versed in this, in the understanding that they were revering attributes of a god, right? Or of God, excuse me. So that's why you see all of this difference, all these variations, all these pagan gods and goddesses. It's not because they actually believed that at the helm of creation there was all of these individuals who were doing things. No, they recognized that these were just symbolic expressions of the one unified beam of white light, right? The one true creative essence of the universe, and that's what you would call God, right? Or nature, or the grand architect, right? Whatever you want to call
Uh,
it. Yeah, yeah.
and I think there's power like in like loving devotion to those qualities, those traits, like the giving yourself, the believing in um that thing. I think there's like psychological benefits that come into play by just giving yourself to something.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
do you feel that? Like it's something I'm kind of leaning into.
Yeah.
Um,
You mean so you mean in the sense of uh making like a personal sacrifice to something, right? To something external to yourself. Is that what that's what you mean?
yeah, I think like I just see like these different religions, and like the commonality is like they're devoting themselves to a higher power and they're believing in it. So no matter what, like what God or entity they're
Oh, I see.
devoting themselves to, it's the act of devotion and surrender that I think there's great power in that.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Because it's the feeling that's important, right?
Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
feeling that's important. And so the people who maybe are like the enlightened class that maybe is creating some sacred literature, okay? They're
yeah,
creating some um, codes and laws of operation for life, let's just say, in some sacred text, or what we would
yeah,
now recognize as a sacred text. Back then might have just been manuals for dissemination in a mystery school, let's just say, okay?
yeah,
So when they're doing that, if they're using certain allegories and symbols, like revere the goddess Athena in this capacity at this particular time, because when you do so, her smile warms your heart, or whatever it is, that using
yeah,
some sort of flowery language to because they knew that the people would only understand a certain way of conveying an idea.
yeah,
So we understand human beings, we understand revering people. So they use these symbols because it's the feeling that was important to cultivate, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's that's where the spiritual growth comes from. It's that feeling that's important. So if by using symbols and getting them to revere something in a particular way, the
yeah,
feeling of gratitude and reverence would be stimulated, and so they would be helping their spiritual growth, right? And
yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally. So thank you for helping me
Hmm.
just kind of mirror that from a different lens. Because yeah, that's just something I'm observing. It's like the feeling and it's just the devotion.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah. It's the
and then
heart,
that
the
yeah, and
spirit,
that
the
creates
spirit in which you
something.
do it.
And that creates ripples.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. No, you
So
got it.
thank you for sharing so much great information that
No worries.
you've accumulated on your path and on your journey. To close every episode, I just ask kind of three final questions. They can be short answers. Um, or however you wish to respond. But these are the three questions. So through the highs and lows, that is this hero's journey, that is this life experience, what has been the greatest life lesson you've learned on your path that you feel called in this very moment and this now to share with us?
Hmm. Yeah, that's actually a tougher question because yeah, there's lots of different ways you could answer that. But you
Yeah.
know what? No, no, I'll say this. Yeah, I'll say this. Uh, if there's one, let me say two things. I'll say two
Sure.
things. Okay, I'm going to
Sure.
say two things. Two things that I think are very, very important to remember in life, right? One thing is simplify, right? The world was not designed, life was not designed or intended, that's a better term, was not intended to be as complicated or complex as human culture would lead you to believe it is. That's one thing you definitely learned over time, right?
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
there's any greater example than this, of course, it's nutrition and eating, right? When this bothered me when let's just say I'm in school, got this complicated lunch, and you look outside your window and there's this crow just like just pecking away at the grass. It's so simple, right? You got or a chipmunk watching a squirrel just eating a nut. That's dinner, right? And you're looking at that, it's like I feel like I'm missing something. Like why is my meal, my conception of diet and whatnot, it's so complicated. It's all these elements that I need to get in, and I need to do this, and I need to have that in the morning, and this and all. And it's just like nature wasn't designed to be that complicated. It was designed to be simple. And I, I'm sure I can't say this with a broad stroke, right? I'm sure there are exceptions, but I would say in most all cases, if you can completely simplify whatever it is in your life, you're more than likely going to be barking up the correct tree. Right?
Uh,
Simplify, right? Just make things simple. It's not as complex. And in terms of diet, it's definitely not as complex, but because that's what I've been familiar with chatting about, so I use that as an example.
yeah. Number two.
And number two, right, is obedience. It's something that because we have this like the freedom culture, right? We like to imagine that we are completely, free. We don't like slavery. We don't like restrictions imposed on us, right? And this is a good thing. We should find contempt with these things. However, um, there is an obedience to the correct authority who, if you obey their laws, and I'm talking about God, nature, okay, there are laws of operation in the universe that are laws that you don't have a choice but to be bound to. And if you simply remember your obligation to obey those laws diligently, the reward for doing so is absolute splendor and glory. But we don't like the idea of having some sort of higher authority because throughout the entire Middle Ages and all of antiquity, we have gotten familiar with the idea of kingship and monarchy and rules coming down from on high, just being horrific for human life, right? So we've cultivated this pattern of kingship and monarchy just crushing human life and being awful. So we kind of moved away from that. But in so making that departure from this reverence of kingship and monarchy and this hatred for rules coming down on high, we threw the baby out with the bathwater, and we forgot that there is the kingship of nature and God, whose laws you don't have a choice to be part of. And if you disobey those laws, you invite ruin into your life. But if you simply obey them, then the world is your oyster. So the other thing that I would say is obedience, right? Obedience to the laws of nature, the simple laws of operation of your body, and wonderful things happen.
Uh,
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
In 3 words, how would you describe the experience you're having on this earth? So in
Hmm.
3 words, it doesn't have to be a sentence, but just 3 words that
Three
would
words.
describe the experience you're having. You
Yeah.
can elaborate on the words if you wish to.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Liberated for one thing, right? So liberated, um, serenity, right?
Okay.
Serenity, liberation, and let's just see one more word that I could go. Yeah. I mean, I want to say happiness, but I might rub off as sounding a bit, like I'm just giving a platitude of some sort. I say liberation because of, I mean, we met, my whole life I've been into like physical fitness and whatnot. So moving my body and doing gymnastics and acro and so now that's spilled over into how I arrange my diet and whatnot. So anyway, okay, 3 words. Yeah.
Liberated, serenity, and
Liberation, yeah, serenity, and you know what? We'll go with reverence. We'll go with reverence.
reverence.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah,
perfect. Final question.
yeah.
We've played around with time, we've examined the past, we've um, examined the present, and we'll go into the future. It's
Mm,
time travel. It's time travel, and we're gonna go into a space and time where you're 85 years old. Who is that 85-year-old Eli Martyr? Where are you? Who are you surrounded by? What is the legacy you left in your 85 years? And what are the predominant feelings? We've talked about feelings. What are the predominant feelings in your being?
mm, mm. I that Eli is someone who I would want to know absolutely, to know absolutely and definitely that what they've done has allowed people to unfold higher qualities of life for themselves and their families, right? If I know that I've done that, that would make me happy, and it would make me satisfied to know that I've contributed that. And I don't know exactly how that will in what way that would express itself in my life, because life is life. Who knows what will happen. There's all sorts of directions life will take you in. But I think regardless of what direction life takes me in, I would be happy knowing that I've been a positive contribution to the wave of spiritual evolution going on the planet right now. So if I'm very, very confident in my mind that I know absolutely no one can tell me otherwise, that I made a difference in people's lives, then then that would make me happy. Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you're doing it just in your being now. And the conversations we've had on set and on this podcast have are doing that. They're helping me unfold
Yeah.
into greater qualities of life for myself. So this is already embedded in your present. What are the predominant feelings? What are the predominant feelings in this 85-year-old Eli that is just knowing that he's helped others unfold onto
Mm.
greater qualities of life? What are the predominant feelings in his being?
Yeah. Um, I think. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that you would just by virtue of time, allowing more time and allowing more experience to unfold, I would want and I would hope to have cultivated a stronger and stronger and ever stronger communion with the higher aspects of myself, with my higher self, right? With the spiritualized aspect of your unconscious mind that is typically unavailable, but through practice and through experience, you can come into better communion with that element of yourself and become a more and more and more useful tool for nature to use in the spiritual evolutionary process of
Okay.
this of the species. So getting into closer and closer touch with your spiritual self, which has a whole variety of incredible benefits that I've been able um, to touch on and experience in my life, and exploring that and going deeper into that as you gain more experience, I think is something that I would really, really strive for. And as it would unfold a deeper a deeper
Uh,
progress for where our spirits are actually going in life.
okay, okay. Well, I invite you to just close your eyes and to tune into that highest self. Um, Imagine how that 85-year-old would recognize and would be in closer touch with that highest spiritual self. Embody that 85-year-old Eli. Step into his seat now, if you can, and just feel into that man, into that being. And then I'll bring us back. I'll bring us back to the present day. And that 85-year-old Eli, he sends with you to the present a message. What does he say? What does he whisper to you in the ear?
He says, "Well done." He says, "Well done."
Incredible. That's a nice feeling.
Yeah, we'll
Well,
see.
thank
We'll see, Grandpa Eli. We'll see.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so thank you, Eli. It's been like a pleasure and a blessing just to get to know more about you and your journey and your story and things that like make you come alive. And all the sharing you did on this conversation. For people wanting to connect with you more, they can find you on YouTube at the FreeMelon Society. And on Instagram, you're at freemelon_Eli. And I'll have links to all this in the episode. Any last closing words?
Besides, thank you. No, that was a wonderful conversation. Derek, I really got to tell you, I appreciate immensely you giving me an opportunity to just share these types of ideas and just your questions, just to help to get this conversation going in the way that it did unfold. I think we had a great chat here, and I can't thank you enough. This has been wonderful. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. To close every episode, we bring our fist in, a digital fist bump, a stepping to the winner circle. Boom. Thank you so much. Um, that's a wrap on today's conversation. Thank you, Eli.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much, and thank you for your listeners for giving us your time.